I now call this meeting of the Davenport Community School District Board of Directors to order. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jackson, would you please read our mission and vision statements?
The Davenport Community School District is dedicated, and it just went crazy. The Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics for every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by our diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens.
Thank you. Landon, will you please read our guiding principles? No, it's
vision statement.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Our vision statement. Education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
I'll start with the first guiding principle, opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential academically, creatively, and socially.
Our second guiding principle, collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students' educations and future.
And our third guiding principle is transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you, student board members. Appreciate it. Superintendent Schneckloff, would you please read our goals?
Today's tie-in is number 4, and that's fostered the innovative use of finances, facilities, and staff.
All right, I will now conduct a public hearing on the revenue purpose statement. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please step forward to the microphone or call 312-629-6799 and enter the meeting ID 963-8170-8643. Passcode is 361201, and state your name and address for the record. Seeing and hearing none, I now declare the public hearing closed. The board will now take action on this item. May I have a motion? Mr. Chairman. Director Poston.
Move the board adopt a resolution approving revenue purpose statement, ordering an election on a revenue purpose statement to authorize expenditures from revenue received from the state's Secure and Advanced Vision for Education Fund, and ordering the publication of notice of election. Whereas the school district receives revenue from the state of Iowa Secure and Advanced Vision for Education Fund, SAVE Fund, pursuant to Iowa Code Section 423F.2 as amended. And whereas by operation of law, the school district's current revenue purpose statement governing the use of SAVE revenue will expire on January 1st, 2031. And whereas the school district wishes to adopt a revenue purpose statement that includes all proposed uses of SAVE revenue, will take immediate effect upon voter approval and will extend beyond the expiration of the current revenue purpose statement. And whereas the Iowa Code Chapter 47 requires that the district submit this election resolution to the County Commissioner of Elections at least 46 days prior to the date of the special election.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Director Potts. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Director Poston.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Gordon,
Yes.
Director Hayes,
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome,
Yes.
Director Beck.
Yes.
My vote is yes, motion carries. We will now move on to recognitions. I will turn it over to the superintendent.
One of our favorite times of the year is anytime we can get students to come into our boardroom and be recognized for their excellence in the classroom, on the stage, or on their field of competition. And tonight, Mr. Flynn's going to lead us through our athletic celebrations for the fall semester. So thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Thank you, Superintendent Schneckloth. Garrett Eagle, who serves as a district athletic director, could not be here tonight, but he wanted to make sure that we carried on and honored the student athletes who did so well and really made such a great showing for us in the fall season and set the tone for the winter season as well. So, Brenda, if you could, I would like to start. We're going to go in reverse order with Davenport West. And I would ask, are there any Davenport West High Falcons here right now that are being recognized? Mr. Cousins, not right now. A couple things, and I would like the list to just stand up there, but there were a couple of pieces that I just wanted to make sure that we brought to everyone's attention. And there was a lot of talk during the football season about the success that the Falcons had on the gridiron. Finished the season, I believe, with a 7-2 regular season mark. Made the playoffs for the first time since, I believe, 1999. I know it was 1999. I was coaching there that year. So they made they did a great job of re-energizing the program and of setting a very positive tone. With that said, there was one individual that earned some first team All-State honors through the Des Moines Register, and that was Devin Sanders. Tip of the cap to him. And then there are a number of first team all district athletes listed as well, Quad City Times all metro athletes, and very, very more importantly, academic all-state athletes, including Brady Hansen, Duro Johnson, and Landon Wright. So they should all be commended for their performances this fall. I would like to also of note, there were some honorable mention all MAC volleyball players there. And there was also an all-MAC state qualifying cross-country runner, Kylie Daly. And Kylie couldn't be here tonight. She is at a bowling meet. So a multi-sport athlete who we love having the chance to celebrate. So congratulations to those West High School athletes. I would ask right now, are there any North High School athletes being here to be? Okay, and that's all right. Just if we could scroll to that list, please. A couple of different pieces. There are a couple of volleyball athletes that should be mentioned there, and then a couple of first team all district selections in Nolan Mosier and Holden Phillips, and a specialist of the year, Cohen Fleming. And just a number of other honorable mention athletes from the football season as well. So congratulations to the North High Wildcats who are listed here today. And then if you could scroll up, we're going to talk through some of the things that happened at Davenport Central as well this fall season. You can see that there are a number of accolades earned by the Central High School football team over the course of the fall season that are listed. And we also had a number of athletes who's I know are here. Saw them in the hallways a lot last year, but I know that they're here with their coaches. So if we could, I'd like to have Coach Mike Trujillo come to the podium. Mike is the girls cross-country coach, and I'd like him to talk about some of the athletes and accolades they had this year.
Good evening, and thank you very much for recognizing us and hosting us this evening. We have a couple of girls sitting here for our cross-country team this year of special note. The first one I'd like to talk about is Marin Crowder, who was a senior. Marin, you want to stand up over there? Marin is one of, by my count, only about a dozen girls ever in Davenport history to go to state twice in cross country. And I mean, when I don't say Davenport, I don't mean Davenport Central, Central, West, North. There have only been about a dozen. One of them, oddly, is Kylie Daly, who's not here. She's at the bowling meet tonight. Marin was the first girl in Davenport history to qualify for state and cross country at the 5K distance. A little bit more challenging back than back in the day when it was 2 miles. And had a great season as a freshman and went to state as a freshman. This year, she, again, at the state qualifying meet, found herself not in a qualifying position early on in the race, and knew how much it meant to qualify for state. And I saw her this just about the mile mark, about half mile in, and top 15 go to state, and she was 21st. I said, "You're 21st!" And so at the mile, she was 20th, and then she was 19th at 2 miles, and then she was 17th at just past 2 miles. She was 17th and finished 14th, and went to state in cross country. Got to state, had a great race. Not the race that she wanted to have though. And we're not gonna lie about that. She was not thrilled with the performance. She wanted to do better, which is, as a coach, you always want to hear. But her value as a leader is why she was so special. Because in that same district race, Dylan Moeller, you can sit down there. In that same district race was Dylan Moeller. Dylan, will you stand? Dylan's a sophomore. And in that race, Dylan had been getting closer and closer and closer to our rivals from a few districts further east of us. And at the state meet, we had a general plan for what we thought Dylan could do. Because Dylan had gone into the state meet ranked in the top 25. And the top 15 got a medal. And so we kind of talked about what to expect and about how the race might unfold. And having Marin along, who'd been to the state meet before and knew what to expect and knew that it was going to be wall-to-wall people across the entire race for the entire race. And so Dylan knew what to expect and knew what it was going to be like in the race course and followed a race plan and executed it. One of the best races I've ever had the pleasure of coaching was and I've been coaching for 30-some years, was watching Dylan run a race plan and execute that at the state meet, getting out in the top 25. And then as the race pack around her started to falter, she kept moving up and moving up and moving up. And then she was 17th, then she was 15th, and then she was 12th, and then she was 11th. And she became the first state medalist from Davenport schools in cross country since 2005. I think that deserves a round of applause. And along the way, she beat all the girls from the couple of school districts over to the east of us. So just wanted to put that out there. So Dylan and Marin were terrific representatives. And back to the Marin story. Marin didn't have the race she wanted to at the state meet. She'll be the first to tell you that. But when I saw her come across the line, and she was disappointed, but Dylan was waiting for her. And you could see the disappointment because she did not run as well as she wanted to. And you could also see Dylan telling Marin how she ran, because Dylan wasn't expected to get a medal. She was nowhere ranked up there. And then the joy in Marin's eyes when she realized that her teammate that she loves, that she has spent all summer training with, got a state medal. She starts jumping up and down in excitement. That was so cool. So that was a wonderful moment. I thank you both for letting me share that with you. And it's been a great season with these young ladies and many more besides. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach, and congratulations to both of you. And at this time, I would like to bring Coach Brian Heller and Coach Mike Wells to the podium, if we could. Coach Heller is going to talk about the girls' swim team for the year, and I'm pretty sure that he will not mention the fact that he was the regional coach of the year. I think I'm saying that correctly, am I not? He wouldn't say that, so I wanted to make sure I did. So, Coach Heller.
Thanks for having us in, guys. We had a very successful season this year. If you saw the paper or you watched the news towards the beginning of November, you saw a lot about us. These girls right here, along with Coach Wells, did some phenomenal things. At the regional swim meet, we had 3 girls that were part of winning 8 events. There are only 11 swimming events, so there are 3 that we didn't become first team All-State. So my 4x4 girls, go ahead, step forward. They're my Wendy's kids. They go 4x4. Isabel Heller won the 100 breaststroke, 200 IM. Her and Hannah and Simone and Gabby Hansen's 200 medley relay team is up for All-American consideration, which is the fastest 100 teams in the nation. So that is one heck of a task. Isabel was also part of the 200 free relay team that won. Hannah Cousins won the 100 butterfly, 100 back. She's a part of that 200 medley relay, 200 free relay. Simone won the 50 and the 100, and then was a part of the medley relay, 200 free relay. Simone and Hannah were nominated by the coaches in our conference to be regional athletes of the year. They tied. So that was an outstanding task, and they were recognized at state for that. So then when it comes to state, we were 5th overall, which I thought was pretty outstanding. I've been doing this a while. We've never gotten that close. I think we'll do even better next year. For state, we had Olivia swimming, and there was a birthday yesterday. She swam the 500 freestyle as a freshman, kind of started the season unknown. By the end of the season, everybody knew. Gabby Hansen swam the butterfly and the backstroke. She was a part of our 3rd place in state 200 medley relay team. And then she was a part of the 400 free relay team. Hannah Ford, which she also runs for Coach Trujillo with cross country. She balances my crazy expectations with his expectations, and she does really well at it. She swam the 500 as a part of the 400 free relay team as well. Isabel was first team All-State in the breaststroke, 3rd overall in the state. She jumped up 2 places from last year. Her IM, she went in at a really good seed, and it was a part of my coaching mistakes that she didn't quite get to where she wanted to be, but she was a part of the 2nd place state runner-up 200 free relay team and 3rd place in the medley, like I said. Our state champion in the 100 backstroke, Hannah Cousins, really dominated pretty much the whole meet. Butterfly, she was 2nd in the state. She was a part of our 200 free relay team and 200 medley relay team that was 3rd and 2nd. Lauren did a great job for us. She was our anchor in the 200 free relay. And if you have a little bit of time to watch on YouTube, you can find that. And just the guts and determination. Everybody was a foot taller, and she never gave in. And that's kind of what you expect out of all these girls. But she pushed, and she knew they were chasing her, and she gave it everything she got. And then finally, Simone. She is our freestyler. She swam the 50 and the 100 for us at state. She brought it home in that medley relay. Super exciting. I don't think I've ever jumped that much in my life. And then she really put us out in the lead with Hannah in that 200 free relay. So they did a great job. And I know that it's a lot of the decisions that you guys make that allow us to be so successful, building that phenomenal facility, allowing our club to come in and use that facility. It doesn't go unlooked or overnoticed or whatever by us. I appreciate everything that you guys have done for us. It takes a village, and you guys are definitely our leaders in that village. So they did a great job. I expect great things out of them. Coach Wells, I get to share him with you guys during the day. I think he hides up in an office somewhere up here. Oh, yeah, that's right. All these girls are back. And then we have 2 other girls that are coming in and going to have immediate impact on it as well. So watch for us in the fall. You'll see some great things. Anything I missed? He always helps me. Thanks again. Thanks, boss, for everything. Good job, ladies.
And as we close out, I would just like to one more time thank our coaches, thank our athletes, thank our parents. We really need to celebrate and tell our own story in terms of our education-based athletic programs. And we have the right people in the right places. We're going to do everything we can to continue supporting them. So congratulations to you all, and thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you all very much for coming tonight and being recognized. We appreciate it. Do we have any presentations? No presentations for tonight. Student board reports.
Our girls' swim team and cross country had a great performance at state. We're obviously piggybacking off of their recognition today, but we're incredibly proud of them, along with many of our other fall sports.
Our wrestlers this weekend brought back 4 medals this weekend. Colin Frost and Tavia Kirk brought back both first place medals, and Jake Jancy, Charles Ebling, and Mason Overbeck each placed 3rd and brought home 3 more medals.
The drama department had a successful showing of their play Jekyll and Hyde this past weekend, and if you want to go and see it, they'll be performing again this Friday and Saturday at 7 in the Kaler Auditorium. Tickets are $5.
Our boys basketball team has had a great season so far and had played a great game against North on Friday, with the final score being 86-61. And this week our boys and girls basketball teams will be playing on Tuesday against Muscatine and on Friday against Assumption.
Members from Central's orchestra will be playing at the Siesta Honors Orchestra concert on Friday.
And then finally, the Marching Blue Devils had a great opportunity to travel to London and play at the New Year's Day parade this past winter break, and we are incredibly proud of them. So, yeah.
Alrighty, now from Davenport North. So starting in our arts department, our North Show Choir is getting prepared for their 2023 comp season. This past week, they rehearsed over 20 hours in preparation for our annual spaghetti dinner, which will be this Saturday. If you want to come and watch, admissions is $10 at the door. It'll be at 7 o'clock. And then our Wildcat Productions has just started rehearsal for our spring musical of Newsies. We have an amazing cast and crew, and we can't wait for you guys to see it. It'll be shown the weekend of March 31st, so save the date. And then from our athletics department, we had 9 athletes recognized as all conference performers. And the girls basketball team is off to a great start and has been recognized for excellent sportsmanship by the league officials.
Also from our athletics department, Nolan Mosier both set the school all-time passing record and has committed to Southwest Minnesota State University for football. Clayton Bokema has committed to University of Texas for baseball as well. Just school things in general. We're getting ready for the start of 3rd term. It's really hard to believe that the year is already almost over. I'm almost graduated. And we recently ran our 3rd Saturday school. This is something we've been doing, and it's really successful. It's for students who want extra help. It's along with Thursday after school tutoring, and it's giving students extra time with teachers to get caught up. We also wanted to, on behalf of the community at North High School, we would like to offer our most sincere condolences to Jacori's family. Our hearts are with you and the community at Wood Intermediate.
All right, and then ending off at West, West High will be participating in a Special Olympics basketball game at Northcott Junior High on Saturday, January 21st. Stephanie Reagan, our counselor, has organized 2 teams that are going to compete in a round-robin tournament. I unfortunately don't know what that means, in the 3v3 developmental skills bracket for Special Olympics. So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you, Mr. Driscoll, for sending that my way. Echoing something that you guys are doing over at North, what we call Catch Up Academy is our Saturday school initiative, and I was proud to help with that this past Saturday. We had donuts for the kids, donuts, water, and if you needed to come because, say, you were failing a class, or you just maybe wanted a little bit of extra help, maybe just wanted that little boost before finals, you were able to come in and get some extra help for a couple hours. So that was a really nice thing. And then tomorrow, the not too sure the class name, but some engineers from over at West High are going to be going to Kenya tomorrow for, I believe, 2 weeks with the water project. We are finally getting to deploy that after so many years of building, development, replanning, rebuilding. It is finally getting deployed, and yeah, I didn't personally work on that, but I'm so excited to see this take off. Really disappointed though, because I have some friends that I have classes with that I won't in the coming terms, and so I won't be able to see them for this last week. But couldn't be more proud of them, and special shout out to Duro Johnson, who I believe is from Kenya. He said he was returning home tomorrow, so thought he was from Nigeria, but he said he's returning home tomorrow. So special shout outs to him getting back to go home to see his family. And then last things last, was proud to represent West High this past Wednesday at the legislative advocacy meetings with local legislators, both state House members and state senators, along with some representatives of Senator Joni Ernst and Representative Marionette Miller Meeks, and also Scott County board members and representatives from the city of Davenport, including Mayor Mike Matson and the mayor of Walcott, whose name I'm unfortunately not remembering. I apologize to you. That's about all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, student board members. We appreciate your input and letting us know what's going on in your areas. I didn't know anything about the Central Band performing in London like it was all over TV in the Quad City Times or something.
Sure, it'll be in one of our board reports.
All right, board reports. Director Gordon.
I spent 7 of the last 12 days in London watching Central's marching band perform in the London New Year's Day parade, and also in a regular concert band concert at Cadogan Hall on Monday night. And they really did our district proud, and I'm not just saying that as a parent of a band member. It was an outstanding performance. The students all stayed in the same hotel and had the same activities. They had a whole itinerary planned for everyone that was on the trip, and whether in public or representing the band in the district in the parade, they were the best representation of Davenport I think anyone could have asked for or hoped for. They're a phenomenal group of young men and women, and I have to really give kudos to their leadership in Alex Wilga and Brian Zeglis, because they have given them the challenge, and all of the students have risen to it over and over again. They are developing some fantastic young people for our community, and we should be really proud of them. And it was an excellent show. So if you have an opportunity, there are videos all over the internet, and I think the full presentation is on the London New Year's Day Parade website.
Thank you. Any other board reports? Director Hayes.
The board would like to express our deepest sympathy also to the Finley and Anderson family as well.
Thank you. Any other board reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to communications. Open forum. Open forum is a time for members of the community to give input at a board meeting regarding school district issues or concerns. Individuals who want to speak, please fill out an open forum request and give it to the board secretary prior to open forum. The form is available in hard copy for in-person attendees or on the school board page of the district's website for those who want to participate virtually. Virtual participants must email their request to Brenda T. at tbrin@davenportschools.org by 3 p.m. on the day of the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa open meetings laws prohibit action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The president may set the amount of time allowed for individuals to speak. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district or community. Remarks that reflect negatively on the character or motives of any person will be called out of order. You will be asked to state your name and home address prior to making remarks. Did we have any other Just the three? All right, we have 3 open forum requests. Janae Cross, Amelia Cross, and Daryl Cross, and we'll do 2 minutes each. When you come up to the microphone, make sure you push the button. The green light will come on, and then state your name and address. And Amelia, you do not have to give us your address. We'll already have that.
She was scared about that. She said, my name is Janae Cross. I live at 6224 North Ripley Street, Davenport, Iowa. I am concerned about the rezoning of the Goose Creek neighborhood. I believe this neighborhood often gets discriminated against by the city and sometimes even the school district. Our neighborhood currently is split between Fillmore and Harrison. And at one time, our students were even bused to McKinley. Although this may not be the intended purpose, it leaves our neighborhood feeling like nobody wants our kids. The city will not connect the neighborhood with roadways to other neighborhoods, and now the district is proposing that all students go to Fillmore. Our neighborhood is closer to Harrison. Harrison is 0.8 miles away with walkable sidewalks. Fillmore is 1.5 miles away with no sidewalks and no direct roadway access for people to get to school. Zoning this neighborhood for Harrison would allow students that miss the bus to walk to school. 70% or higher of our neighborhood qualifies for free and reduced lunch. The reason why I add this is many of our families lack reliable transportation to get their kids to school when busing is not provided. Fillmore is not walkable for our neighborhood. I'm also questioning the equity in the proposed boundary lines regarding the diversity and poverty makeup of each school. What would Harrison be compared to Fillmore? I'm interested in this data. I do believe that students in my neighborhood should go to the same school for busing cost, for neighborhood unity, but I question why it's Fillmore and not Harrison. If this boundary change goes forward as proposed, I would hope students could attend their current school under grandfathered clauses. Many of these students feel success in part of a school family, which is awesome and how we should always want our students to feel at their schools.
Thank you. Amelia, you're up.
My name is Amelia Cross. I am being affected by the proposed boundary changes. I have been attending Harrison Elementary since kindergarten. I am now in 4th grade. I am upset I would have to change schools for these reasons. 1, I have made many friends. 2, I think it is a great school. 3, I feel comfortable at my school. 4, I am a part of the youth leadership and play orchestra, and I am also in Girls Who Code. 5, I feel safe at my school. 6, I have rights to be successful. I would not like to switch for these reasons. It would be hard to make new friends. I would feel uncomfortable. It would take time to adjust, affecting learning. I don't think it is fair that some kids can stay at Harrison, but I have to leave along with kids in my neighborhood. I don't think it's fair. Will have to go to Fillmore because it is so much farther away than Harrison. I hope you change your mind and think about the fairness of this decision.
Thank you. Daryl Cross.
My name is Daryl Cross, better known as Coach Cross. I'm known to be long-winded, so I'm going to try to keep it brief. I know a lot of people in this room. I coached in this district for 9 years. I'm very connected to my community. I'm speaking to the people on the desk that live in the city of Davenport that choose to send their kids to the city of Davenport when I say this. We're very connected to our neighborhoods and our home schools. We have pride in where we are. I think it's a shame what's going on with this attempted change of taking kids that can walk to one building and forcing them to go to school on the other side of the town. I would like the chance to keep my child in the same school she's in. She started there in kindergarten. She's in 4th grade. Again, working for the district in the past, I worked in the attendance and truancy department. And one thing I knew was a big factor was being connected to your community and having a social structure there in your building. If you create a situation where kids from one neighborhood have to go all the way to the other side of town and they can't walk to school if they miss the bus, where they have to be out there almost at 7 o'clock when they're even 9 years old, that's going to create more of an attendance problem and more of an issue for children. A lot of people work in my neighborhood, and it's unfair to all of them. Though I may be just one of the people here speaking, it's unfair to all of them. So I ask, if you are just dead set on sending all of the kids from one neighborhood that's already shut off from everything and sending them way over there, please allow the ones that are able to drive their kids to school. Please let us keep our kids in the same building where they made all of their friends like your kids, okay? That's all I want, is just the fairness of that. So if you're just dead set on sending them way over there, let us be able to keep our kids at our school and grandfather us in and just allow us to drive or walk our kids to school because we're close enough to walk them there. So please leave us with that option if you just have to make that change, okay?
Thank you. Just pull the batteries out of it. No, that one's off. That's yeah. All right. We will now move on. Thank you for participating in open and forum. We appreciate it. We like getting the feedback from our community. So thank you all. Amelia, you did a great job. Thank you very much. We will now move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Klein. Jerome, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Superintendent report.
Not at this time.
Committee reports. Data Wall Ad Hoc Committee. Director Hayes, you got anything? Or Superintendent?
This past week, we met with Dr. Judy Elliott as a cabinet level, which was a key component of our Data Wall Ad Hoc Committee. And next week, I have an individual meeting with her. We're getting closer to our early warning system and district-wide data points, which is go slow to get it right. So we took a step forward last week, had a wonderful visit with her discussing data amongst other things.
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee will be meeting on the 19th.
Thank you. LZAC.
I don't have an update. TJ, do you know when we meet again?
No.
I've got some notes from our meeting. So basically, the LZAC met, and right after we had our vote to close 3 buildings. And so in that meeting, we had a really good crowd, and we reviewed that decision, and then the decision to keep 6th grade in the elementaries for 1 more year, and then asked the LCAC for what they, as community members, would think of as key things that we should think about as we make the transitions, moving students to new buildings and that kind of thing. So that's what the bulk of the discussion was about, is what are things that the community thinks that we should keep in mind as we move forward.
Thank you, Director Beck. Long Range Facilities, Director Pop.
We'll be meeting this Friday.
Policy Committee.
We're meeting on Wednesday.
Legislative advocacy. I don't know how much more we can add that Jackson took from us, Director Foster. Again, as Jackson stated, we met with all of our local electeds. We had a really good turnout. I think 30 people. Was it 30 people, Brenda? Yeah. So we were able to share our story and our talking points, and then to be able to send them on. So it was good. We have a lot of new local elected officials. So it was a good meeting. And Jackson, thanks for representing our student board members. And then the next thing we'll be working on is we have the Day on the Hill with the IASB February 14th. We get to spend our Valentine's Day up at the Capitol. And then the Get on the Bus trip. And we're working on getting that scheduled, correct, Brenda? All right.
Did you say Valentine's Day?
Yep. Every year.
They can candy. I thought it was President's Day.
For the kids.
For the
ISB
kids.
Day on the Hill is the 14th, yeah. And then, yeah.
Sorry.
Nope, that's it. Jackson, you got something you want to add?
I just wanted
And PG.
just wanted to reiterate my extreme gratitude for you guys allowing me to not only go to that meeting, to consider me a part of this committee. Like, I'm serious. If you told me even 2 years ago that this would even be possible, I'd call myself crazy. So thank you guys so much.
Well, again, thank you, and thank you for your enthusiasm, because it is nice to have a student in there with us to kind of tell the story of the things that go on in the building. So thank you again. I didn't miss any committees, so we'll move on to items requiring action. May I have a motion on subject 11.01? Director Poston.
Move the board approve the request to the School Business Review Committee for modified supplemental amount for open enrolled students in the 2022-23 school year, not on the certified enrollment in the prior year, for the amended amount of $1,925,272.80.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I just would like to get a little bit of clarification on what this money, like what exactly we're asking for here. These are students that are open enrolled out of our district, and we're looking to recover the money because we didn't count them. Is that correct?
You're correct. We counted them, but we count them this year for next year's funding.
Okay.
So really what it is on-time funding. We're paying the tuition out this year. This allows us to have the authority to spend that money this year. If we don't do this action, it means that we will have that hole to start with, because we're not receiving the money until next year. That's part of the funding flaw. The other part to this is we approved this last month.
Yep.
There was a change. I was out early ahead of time with this, and the number changed, and I didn't see that with the way the Department of Ed posted it. So this is about a $300,000 increase from what we had approved from the prior month. But you're right, it is on-time funding. It's not property tax. It's nothing to do with that. It's just authority to spend the money this year.
Right. Okay. So basically covering that tuition that we're having to pay to the other districts.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.02?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the request to the school business review. I move the board authorize the district's administration to submit a request to the school budget review committee in the amount of $5,250,072 for modified supplemental amount for the purpose of the 2023-24 school year at-risk and dropout prevention program.
Thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Director Kleindrum. Is there any discussion on this one?
Mr. President,
Director Poston.
in the presentation that we had, one question that I had asked was on chronic absenteeism. And in that chart, it showed from 2018-19 school year to 2020-21, a rise from 23% to 60% chronic absenteeism. And I just wanted to make sure that if that was correct.
Yes, that is correct. And I remember you asking how is that defined, chronically absenteeism? And so a student is determined chronically absent if they are in attendance 89% or less of the time.
So what this is telling us right here is that 60% of our students are chronically absent.
That is our current reality right now, yes. 89% or less. They're in attendance 89% or less.
Director Clausen, did you have anything else?
Question.
Director Potts.
Is that based as a 89% annually, or does that calculation is that quarterly? Like first quarter, there's 43 days. You miss 4 days, you're considered chronically absent.
It's continuing to be calculated throughout the year.
So what I said is correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Director Beck.
So basically, someone who gets COVID and has to be out for 4 days because they test positive is going to be chronically absent, whether they're there every other day or not. If it happened in the first quarter, they're going to be considered chronically absent for a period of time.
Superintendent Schnackwell.
We have a attendance committee of the whole meeting scheduled for February 6th that we are currently cascading through our system, a deep dive on our attendance over the last couple of years. I feel that all of the questions that we'll be asking right now, our entire leadership team is preparing for those questions as we speak. I think we'll be much better prepared to answer those questions on February 6th. Do an analysis of those years through the pandemic. Where are we now? And also beginning to re-snap what are the expectations moving forward, because it's very clear that is something really important to our board. And I want to be very cautious that we are maybe a little bit adrift off the modified allowable growth dropout prevention budget, even though it's in line.
Jackson.
It's just a slightly more broad wording of what Director Beck asked. So when someone's labeled chronically absent, is that an automatic trigger for certain things, or does that take into account certain factors like someone just not showing up with no one explaining why versus like what Director Beck said, someone who has COVID or some kind of disease and they can't show up or they're in the hospital?
Those are the exact, when we go through our presentation, we'll go through the definitions, the common expectations. That way we're all speaking the same language on that analysis on February 6th. Excused, unexcused, all of those things.
Awesome. Thank you. Ooh, wow, that was loud. Sorry.
All right. Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.03?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board approve the negotiation teams for spring 2023 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Hayes. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.04?
Mr. President.
Director Beck.
Sorry. I move the board approve the school boundary proposal as presented.
Is there a second? Seconded by Director Potts. Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
I have a couple of questions. So, are all of the numbers that we've been working with, figuring out how to assign students, do those include sixth grade in the elementary or sixth grade in the middle school, or does it matter? Would be my first question. Because I don't know how many sixth graders we have in each building in the first place.
The current numbers you have right now are sixth graders for next year.
This includes sixth grade.
Yes.
And so all of the boundaries are based upon sixth grade being in the elementaries. Will things change significantly when sixth grade moves back to the middle schools? Do we know?
Yes, it will change the buildings, but it will not change the boundaries. And we did keep that in mind when we set these.
That's basically what I was trying to figure out. Okay. So my second question, Buffalo School has a capacity that is way more than its enrollment. Why is that? And if I recall correctly, and I didn't get a chance to double check the most recent, the adjusted boundary proposal down to the street level, but did we shrink the attendance zone for that school, or did we make it bigger? Because if there's more room, it seems to me that we should be moving more students in that direction. We also heard a lot of feedback from people near or in the Buffalo attendance zone now who wanted to stay there or wanted to increase the number of students there.
So to answer your questions, yes, we moved the boundaries. There are several sections that are within walking distance neighborhood school to go to Hayes. So that was adjusted. We also added a transfer option section to where anybody that is currently going to Buffalo can go back to Buffalo where there is room. So I want to throw some key considerations out there. The feedback that we received, we made adjustments with it. So as the feedback was coming in on the website as fast as we were getting it, Mr. Driscoll was putting it all in a sheet. We were reviewing it, and anywhere we felt we could make adjustments without using your words, Director Potts, the bumper cars didn't get too great. We made those adjustments. So based off the feedback, there are adjusted boundaries here today. I know we're in a spot where there's no good answer, and I recognize that. And we could bumper car all the way around the district a limitless amount of times. But here's what we're up against. We have 3 buildings worth of teachers that need to know where they're going. It all hinges off of this vote tonight. Our families in those buildings need to know where they're going. Mr. Flynn is heading up our transition process with Mr. Ermansky, and we're going to develop letters to send to the families immediately. We're planning transition activities to be assigned. The movement of sections and where our staff will be occurring immediately. Jamie's been doing an excellent job working with our union to make sure that that's set up the right way. Staff realignment to the buildings is critical because then that's going to start our negotiations, and from there we're going to have to be able to post our new positions. And so we, as always, we're in this process in a tough situation where we have to make decisions. And so we want the community to know that we listened to that feedback that was given. And 2 of the things that we heard, and you heard it from our family tonight, is that we need to get this ball rolling for this reason. It's not for any other reason. Davenport Schools needs to be very aggressive in this time where it's difficult to find teachers and staff members, and that's our plan. That's why we have to do that. We've listened, we've heard the potentials of a transfer option policy, and that is in here tonight to discuss of how we plan to move forward with that, and the transition activities that we talked about all hinge off of this decision tonight. So kind of wanted to give a little bit of background on that as well. So with that being said, after next year, the sixth graders will go back, and the numbers in our elementary schools will be less by whatever that sixth grade section is, and be more manageable. And then the board is given the directive to immediately begin the planning or have the planning prepared for what's the comprehensive plan for preschool moving forward. So that's our goal.
Just to piggyback on something you said, so families like the one we heard from in open forum today, anyone can apply?
They will have an opportunity to
grand-
fill out that transfer option.
Okay, but it's not a guarantee that they will be
Correct.
able to stay at their current school, but any family can apply
Yes.
to stay at their current school if they choose.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Director Klein Jerome.
Just to clarify, the boundaries that I looked at on this board agenda, is it the same boundaries as on the district website? Because Friday they didn't match. So
Correct. The feedback that we received by last Thursday, we made some adjustments. The key adjustments are this. There was a section in the McKinley area that was extremely close to McKinley Elementary School. So by adjusting there, we had to make some adjustments there. From there, it moved McKinley to go underneath Madison and Hayes a little bit farther towards the Jefferson area. And that's where the adjustments are made.
So parents should look at our board agenda,
Correct.
not at the website currently, if
Correct.
you want to see how they're adjusted.
Correct.
Thank you.
And immediately following this, Mr. Flynn has a plan to post those boundaries printed off big. I don't know if John knows this or not, but he might be a part of this, on big printed off posters that will be displayed in the front entryway of all of those buildings that are impacted immediately, so those parents will know where their students will go, and also they'll be posted immediately to our website.
When you say immediately, you have it done right now. Okay.
They're done.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hang on one second. Jackson?
So I just got two questions. If I'm a parent of a family that is significantly impacted by this boundary change, like some of the families we've heard at Open Forum, we apply for the transfer and we're denied, what is our next best option for getting our kids to school if, say, walking is their only option and we don't have a vehicle and we're not within busing range?
If you're not in busing range, then you would be walking under the 1.5 mile. If you're over that, then you would qualify for a bus. The Davenport School District buses at 1.5 mile, where the state requires us to bus anytime over 2. So we're actually underneath the state law or the state requirement. So anything over 1.5, we provide transportation for.
And then the other one is I'm assuming that teachers are going to be moved around kind of following the boundaries as students are being moved around?
So that's exactly right. So when the boundaries are set, we will then be able to count each individual student in where they will be attending, determining how many sections we need, how many teachers we need at every building. And from there, we have a contract, and Jamie, our HR director, Jamie Weinzerl, and along with the partnership with the union, will begin that process very soon. Once those teachers are in their position for next year, we will look at our retirements, our open positions, and post those so we can be as aggressive as possible for opening those positions. And that will be all positions. That's teachers, paraeducators, secretaries, all of those things. And so there's a district standard that we have, and we're going to follow that as we move our staff members to the other buildings.
All right, last question. Is there going to be, or at least I guess, could there be a list that says, like, if you go to X school, you will start going to X school, just kind of because I don't have to like compare maps, because I'm looking forward to still doing the trying to get NHSs from all the high schools to assist teachers in packing and yeah. So it'd be nice to know if there's just a list that said, like, if you went to Truman and you live like in this area, you're going to this place, you know?
Every one of the students and families impacted, part of Mr. Flynn's plan is to get a mailed letter to your house. So that's part of our plan as we move forward as well. And just a reminder that our high school and our middle school boundaries are not changing.
And that includes teachers too? Okay, sweet. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you. Director Gordon.
Okay, so I understand that we need to let the staff know where they're going and what the plan is, and I understand that that's an urgent thing we want to do. However, I have concerns that this has been rolled out so quickly and that there hasn't been enough time for many of the concerns to be addressed. While I do appreciate that several of them have been and that's been updated, I do still have a lot of concerns with the SES numbers and how they're changing and the walkability of things. And I just looking at the maps, it just doesn't seem equitable in a lot of circumstances. And I took some time and went through the public school websites that list, current free and reduced lunch numbers and compared them to what we have here with the low income numbers for proposal 2. And there are a handful of our schools that are changing less than 5%, but we have other schools that are increasing their low SES numbers by 12%, 13%, 15%, and 23%. And so when there's other schools, one school is actually dropping 6%, so it's getting more high income, which is great. But there's a huge discrepancy between 2% change and 23% change. And I feel like if we spent a little bit more time and answered a few more questions and had a little bit more work done on this, that maybe we could come to a better equitable solution. So I don't have a question. That's just, I'm laying just my concerns out there.
And I would like to clarify that point. When you say you go to the website and you look for the data, that data has been scrubbed. So what you are comparing is actually not apples to apples. So when we look at our data, it's the current live data that's inside of our district. And we look at one of the numbers that allows us to compare apples to apples, that highlighted piece there, when actually the state will take both of those data points, scrub them, and that becomes our official. Because I reviewed what you just shared, and I do not believe that those are apples to apples. What we are looking at right now is if you look at the software that we utilize, is the current household. When Mr. Driscoll pulls the software program up, he can draw a circle around it. And any child in there is calculated, and it gives us that percentage live right now. And so when we looked at that, the percentage points, we did not see any building that changed at the drastic measures that you just shared. That's accurate, correct, Mr. Driscoll? So I just want to clarify that I'm not sure that it is as drastic as you are sharing, because I do not believe those are apples to apples. I think that's scrubbed data that goes on the website. I've oftentimes, and when I was the federal programs director, that is one of the toughest things to nail down, what a family or a household that is free and reduced lunch, how they qualify. And so what we tried to do is use our internal right now. What is it? What does it look like? And the data that we have on here is from our system. It did not have what it used to be on there, but we could easily acquire that. Mr. Driscoll, you have anything to add to that?
I was just saying I could get those numbers using those real-time numbers, but it would take some time.
Yeah.
So then in response to that, I would request those numbers before I would be willing to vote yes on this, because if we have the proposal 1 numbers and we have the proposal 2 numbers, but we don't have the current numbers, but we're saying what's on the public school website is scrubbed, then that doesn't make me feel confident that I have all the information I need in order to make the right choice tonight.
Director Beck.
I share some of the concerns with Director Gordon, but I'd also like to mention that one of the key considerations was walkability. And so when you take into account physical proximity to the school, we know that neighborhoods tend to have sort of a lot of people of the same socioeconomic status, right? And so I think what we're never going to get it perfect. Nothing's perfect. And we're striking a compromise between students being able to walk to school versus changing the demographics of the school buildings. So personally, my personal belief is that students being able to walk to school is very important, and I would prioritize that. I do have a question about demographics changing how we do Title I funding, because I know I have trouble remembering sometimes how that works. So currently we have buildings that are called title buildings, and that's because they have a certain percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced meals, correct?
There are 3 different ways you can run your Title I programming in the Davenport or in the state of Iowa. What we choose to do is the school-wide model. And so the model that Davenport's been operating off of the last 20 years is our district standard is that anyone at or above the district average of poverty, which is 65%, would then be considered to become a Title I building. And so in our current landscape, we have the reduction of 3 Title I buildings, which is, I'm going to guess, approximation of about $300,000 per building, will be redistributed back throughout our system, and in this plan potentially adding 1 more. We have always had 3 or 4 buildings that are right next to the district average. For example, Truman was one. They've been teetering the edge of being a Title I building since I was there in 2001. And so the ability to add or adjust our Title I programming is an absolute must in this time. And Courtney has a team of people that are looking at how we're going to use those moving forward. And yes, there's a potential of 1 building being added to becoming a Title I building. You must be served if you go above 75%.
Okay. And so one of the other models, is it not to do it on a building wide? It's more of a percentage wide?
It's give it to everybody.
Okay.
The money follows the kid. And the reason why Davenport chooses not to do that is it dilutes the dollars. And so there's other ways to utilize those dollars. We, along with every other UEN, I think that's safe to say, I'll fact check that, utilize the model that we're utilizing, whether it be some form of grade span, whether it be a school-wide model. So.
Okay, thank you.
Director Potts.
Changing boundaries is traumatic. It's traumatic for us. It's traumatic more for the parents and those kids. And it's especially traumatic at this time because we're changing boundaries everywhere. I mean, that's the bumper car because we're closing schools. I would like to see us, and I may do this as a board request, but I'd like to see us have a conversation about maybe looking at establishing some sort of a procedure or a policy where we review elementary boundaries every X number of years. And I don't have a number, 5 years or 6 years. And so then we can adjust those boundaries in not such a traumatic fashion. It might also give us the ability to grandfather kids in, and the new people have to go to so that we would be on a cycle adjusting minimally to maintain a balance in our elementaries. I just think And I don't know how it would work. I don't, but I think we need to look at that and consider that as part of a long range, not a total solution, but a more comfortable solution to the needs we have to make sure we don't have one building with too many kids and another building that doesn't have enough kids.
Make sure you do up that board request every 10 years like the legislator. Jackson.
I just want to say this real quick since I did this when the school's closed. To anybody watching who's a student, who's a not kindergarten, or a elementary school student, who's worried about losing your friends or losing your teachers, you're gonna make new friends. If it's gonna move your school, you're gonna make new friends. You're gonna make new teachers. They're gonna love you just as much as your old friends and your old teachers. And you're born in a very blessed time because you're born in a time where you can still see your friends online, and chances are you're still going to be able to play with your friends outside of school. So don't worry. It will be okay. Your teachers will love you just as much, and you will be getting just as good of an education. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Director Beck?
Sorry, my one question was that the maps on the website be the kind that are really high resolution and you can zoom in and see the streets, because the one that we got for tonight was a little less easy to see. Thanks.
Any other discussion? The only thing I will add, closing schools is hard, changing boundaries is hard. And it takes a lot of hours to put in all the work to do these things. It takes a lot of hours with all of us to review them. I think Brenda had all this stuff posted Friday morning. We all had, Friday all weekend to look at this stuff. I thank you all for the work on that, as well as it is, however it goes, it is nice for our staff to know where they're going, as well as to be able to put a transition plan in place like that. So we set up here and say we want to get negotiations going faster so we can get those things done. Well, we got to get people in the right facilities that they need to go to so they know where they're going and things like that. So again, I commend everyone that helped with this, and I appreciate you throwing the plug in for all staff, because it ain't just teachers that we employ all staff. So never forget that, and they're all going to be moving right along, not just the teachers, because they aren't the only ones that help in the classroom. So again, thank you for doing that. All right, no other discussion. This is going to be a roll call vote. I will call for the vote. Director Beck.
Yes.
Director Potts.
Yes.
Director Klein Jerome.
Yes.
Director Postian.
Yes.
Director Gordon.
No.
Director Hayes.
Yes.
My vote is yes, motion carries. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break before we go into discussion items. All right, we are back. We will move on to discussion items. The first subject for discussion is 12.01, the purchase of a walk-in freezer for the bakery.
Mr. Romansky, I think these next three are yours.
So, because of the pandemic and a number of supply chain issues we experienced through the last couple of years, it's been requested a few times to see if we can get a larger freezer in our Davenport Learning Center. So, with the pandemic and issues we've had, we can utilize ESSER funds to help us in the situation. So we would like to put a larger walk-in freezer into our Davenport Learning Center next to our district bakery. The estimated cost is around $55,000 to $60,000 is what we have right now. The way we had it designed or talked about designing it was a way we could remove it if we ever leave that facility. So if you see them before, the walls are actually usually large panels that go in, and if you need to remove them, you can remove them after the fact. So that's kind of how we address that issue. I know down the road, I have no idea what's going to happen with that building, and we haven't really gotten into a deep discussion about it. So that was one concern of mine. Any other questions around that topic?
Director Posh.
Will you continue to use the existing freezer then?
Yes.
Yeah.
And what it does affect, if we don't have delivery made, the food choices will are less and things like that. So instead of having 5 choices of food, you might have 2. But it allows us to have a little bit of leeway if a truck doesn't show up one day, if the driver got sick or something like that.
Is there any additional information board members would need to feel comfortable voting on this at the next regular meeting? Man, you knocked that out of the park, Josh.
Thank you.
Next subject is 12.02, replacement of district chairs.
So we were in a warehouse one day looking at some chairs, and I think Dan Burlingame also was looking at some chairs at a facility and was like, man, we really need to replace these. These have been around for a long time. Some of the chairs have been around since 1930. Mr. Potts was telling me about some of them that he's had in his school in the past. They've lasted a long time. They were good chairs. I just feel like they, I don't want to say reflect totally poorly of the district, but I think we could put a better face on when people are coming to visit our facilities, put some new chairs out there. So we got one bid starting off around $25,000 to $30,000. We're going to get a few more bids after this, but we would just like to get some new chairs. Any questions?
Director Kleindrill.
Are we looking locally to buy these so that they aren't country of origin China? Like maybe Han or somebody close by?
Yeah. So this quote that we have there was just an original starting point. We didn't know what they were going to end up costing, so we get a kind of an idea, and then knowing it goes over our bid threshold, Don Kimmel will put them out to bid to our local vendors and whoever else wants to bid on it.
Jackson, and then I'll get you Director Potts.
Thank God. That is all.
Director Potts.
I would hope we'd also be looking at Iowa Prison Industries because I purchased student desks from them, and they're exceedingly well-made equipment.
Yep.
And that's, I'm not going to say that part.
We do use them as a vendor, yes.
Director Beck.
I just want to say I appreciate that the proposed chairs are the padded ones. Yes, thank you. Please don't let that go by the wayside.
I appreciate those as well.
Director Gordon.
Are we going to spray paint the bottoms of the new ones pink?
I think we'll try not to do that.
Jackson.
I know my previous comment was a little vague, but yes, seconding Director Beck on that. I cannot tell you I think I've had more pain and suffering sitting on these old chairs than I have from any injury I've ever received. So these padded chairs are a genuine godsend. So If not this specific bid, please stay within the realm of padded chairs.
Thank you. Director Hayes.
With 800 of them, Josh, are you just going to distribute a few of them to each of the buildings, or?
What we do is we actually keep them in one location, and then they request them as they need them, so we use them throughout the district. They're used weekly throughout the district.
Oh, okay.
There might be some smattering of chairs and buildings here and there that I'm not aware of, but generally speaking, we have large racks of them in a storage facility, and we send them out to buildings when needed.
Any other? Oh, Director Potts.
On the idea that we're looking at padded chairs, is there? Can we do some comparison of the durability of a padded chair versus a non-padded chair in terms of life expectancy? Because I can see them getting poked or torn or ripped or just.
I can see that coming up as a conversation. But we can mention to the people we want durable chairs, not easily ruined chairs. Yes.
Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Director Beck.
I echo what Director Potts just said. I hadn't thought of the durability. Metal lasts forever. Padding, not so much. So maybe a mishmash, a hodgepodge. While we're on the topic of chairs, do we have adequately new office chairs in all of our buildings, or is that something that?
That is not something I've looked at,
Okay.
to be honest.
Okay. You're right. It is. It's not an education expense. So, okay, cool. Thanks.
Any other discussion? The only thing I would add, because I know I was at an event at Filmer and they didn't have enough chairs, and those were old chairs. So if we purchase chairs, I would like to see to have enough that if two facilities had an event at the same night, they would be able to do that. And I would imagine we would save more money getting it in a bulk rate. So, I mean, there are only 5 nights during the week and we have a ton of buildings.
Yeah, I can ask about the amount we put on the quote or how many we have quoted. So maybe the amount might be a little higher than I stated earlier if we decide to go a few more. I'll ask how often we run out.
Okay. Is there any other information other than what the board members have already expressed? Quantity, padding, and enough of them. All right. Durability. All right, we will move on to subject 12.03, Madison Elementary School window replacement.
So we were discussing use of ESSER funds and different things they can be used for, and window replacement is one of them. We also discussed the age of buildings and buildings that need to have windows replaced in them. Madison came to light as a building that's still fairly original, and the windows themselves in the building are around 80 years old. So we went and talked to some architecture firms about proposals to do the project. So what we would like to do is hire Bray Architects to be our architects to do the drawings for the Madison window project. Right now, the project is estimated at between $850,000 and $900,000, which comes to close to $7,000 a window. It is quite expensive to replace that, but when we talked to the architects from multiple firms, it did come back that they had similar numbers. And obviously, when they go out for bid to do the project, it would be nice if it was cheaper, and maybe things will lighten up a little bit, but it is quite expensive to do that right now. To hire Bray, it is $57,000 to do the architecture work on the project, though.
So right now, are you asking for hiring the architect or the whole project?
We would be hiring the architect to draw the project up.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
I'm going to ask my question first. if we do this project, are we eligible for like some rebates through like Mid-American and things like that? Because obviously 80-year-old windows, we're losing a lot of energy. Whereas if we're putting in new windows, would we be able to, I would assume that would be a huge cost savings and we should be able to get some rebates.
John and I were actually talking about that today, and it's possible. We haven't talked to them yet, but it is something we need to talk to Mid-American about. And there's I can't remember the name of the project. New construction. There's like a rebate for like newer construction like that. So we'll reach out to them and see if it does.
I mean, I just know when we were talking about solar, they were giving us all kinds of rebates for stuff. So maybe we need to do that again. Director Beck.
Two questions, actually. So this note that we got said they were installed in 1986, but I thought I just heard somebody say they were original.
Yeah, I thought they were original too. I could have something wrong, but
Okay.
I did have a note that said they were original today. So
Okay. Because I know that building
Yeah,
was
you're right.
built before 1986.
yeah, I'll verify that.
Okay. But more importantly, can you explain how this falls under ESSER funding?
Well, it specifically states it right in there, but it does affect air quality. I mean, air can obviously infiltrate through your windows. You can open and close windows. Light passes through windows. Humidity is affected by your insulation within the window. So all of those things affect indoor air quality.
And then would we need to look at window treatments as well, like a shade or something like that, or do most of these windows just sit as they are?
We haven't discussed window treatments as far as blinds and things like that.
I mean, if they don't have them now, I can't imagine they would need them in the future. But
They'd probably be left with what they have now, but the windows will be tinted a little bit more.
Okay.
Like the older ones don't have any on, but the newer ones would have
Yeah.
some tinting on them.
Okay.
Jackson and then Director Hayes.
First off, Director Beck, I think the 86 was a slip. It says 68 on the page, so I think someone just swapped the two numbers when they were talking. I guess what I'm wondering is the reaching the end of their life. Are they just so loose that it's losing like too much air? Like, is that kind of what that means? Like what does end of their useful life like actually mean?
What happens is the seal starts to break down. They start leaking. There's the number of panes within the window is less from during that time period. So the newer construction just makes them better insulated.
That was easy. Thanks.
The rope probably came off the lead weight. A little too young for that.
It's possible.
Did you say lead paint?
No, there's a lead weight.
Oh.
Any other discussion on this? Oh, Director Hayes, I'm sorry.
Josh, could you repeat the price that you said for the architect?
It's $57,000.
Okay, and that was not included in here, correct?
It's on the memo, I believe I sent. The amount.
Okay, I see.
Right at the bottom.
Director Poston.
I don't have a question, just a comment, and I still can't believe that these windows on average will cost us $7,000 a window. It just blows my mind. And I've said this before. It just seems like when the school district puts out things for bids, is that it just it seems like we're always getting taken, and that's my concern here again.
I'm going to put you on the spot on this one, Josh. What are the window sizes?
That is a good question. I was just discussing that. I don't know the window sizes directly. We estimated what, on average, 6 feet tall. We're estimating around $135 a square foot per window. Some of the windows are very large.
And the glass is thicker and things like that, so they're not easily broke. That all adds. I was just trying to help you out with justifying the cost.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Jackson.
And are they like shattered, like bullet resistant or bulletproof or anything like that, or are they just regular old like house pane glass?
No, they're thicker than that. They're commercial, wouldn't they?
They're tempered glass.
Oh, that explains the price.
Any other discussion on this? And for clarification for everybody, will be for approval of the architect to put this project together. Director Poston?
So, again, you're recommending using ESSER funds, and where, either TJ or Kevin, where do we stand as far as our ESSER funds? Are there other projects that this ESSER funds should be put towards versus this project?
We're working on approximately additional $25 million worth of ESSER projects. The struggle that we have is making sure we can get projects that can get off the ground and get bid, receive the products, and install the products with the prescribed amount of time. We're looking at 18 months right now. We're continuing to get those low-hanging fruit items so we can get them done, get them through. That meshes with our master facility plan so that we can utilize those funds to our best of our ability.
So you're saying that we could have a problem getting all our ESSER funds used without an extension?
It's going to be problematic, but we're going to be doing everything we can to get everything done in the 18 months.
Kevin, to follow up on that, because I know we brought this up with legislators, without getting an extension on the ESSER funds, do we have to approve the project, purchase the materials in order for it to count, or does the project have to be completed within that window? Or can it be like on the books and accounted for or allocated for, or how does it work?
As it sits today, the DE tells us it needs to be expended by June 30th, 2024. So that means it needs to be done. We have to have it paid for. What is being proposed from the federal side of it is if you have the project kind of in the chute, like planned for, ready to go, if states ask for an extension for those projects, that they can extend that for, I don't know how many months they're going to go, 12, 24 months, something like that, in that range, then we'd be just fine in doing normal process. So we're waiting on that piece. I hope that will happen. It'll make it a lot easier.
I'm glad to hear it was an 18-month lead time. I was thinking like 2 years or something like that. So it's not as good, but Director Poston?
Josh, when are you proposing that if this project is approved, are you talking this summer it would be done, or what's your plans?
Yeah, potentially. We really have to get some things put together and talk to the vendors about that before I give an exact deadline, but ideally ASAP. I mean, yeah, I can't tell you what their lead times are going to be right now without talking to them, but as soon as possible.
Superintendent Schneckloff.
To follow up on projects that you're going to see like this, we've asked Josh to put together a list of projects that are our highest need, done right away because of this very issue. And we did address that issue of the potential extension with every one of our legislators. And I felt like that's on their radar now. We need to continue to push that with them because the supply chain and worker shortage in our area is going to impact that greatly.
Some of our HVAC products are seeing a lead time of 36 to 52 weeks. So, I mean, you're seeing something you can order and it's 50 weeks out and we haven't even installed it. And it has to be done during a time period when people aren't in a building, things like that. So it really puts us in a funny spot at the moment.
Good thing you brought that up to the legislators, huh? Is there any other additional information anyone needs on this? Again, like Director Poshin said, the sooner we can get the stuff on the list, the better, because with the lead times, hopefully they do an extension, but still, even if we have that, if we do the stuff now with the lead times, we'd be hitting that depending on what their extensions were and things like that. So thank you very much. And you might as well stay right there because you're up for the next one too, huh? Subject 12.04 West High School Athletic Facility Update. Or is this John?
Yeah, John's going to give us a description. John, you can either stand there, sit down, wherever you like.
I've been sitting for a while, so I'm okay standing. Do you have the presentation? Yep. So we've been bringing a lot of hard news to have to contemplate for the board, so we wanted to bring something that was a little more uplifting and exciting, which is an addition and renovation project for West High School. The program's loading. You can go ahead and scroll forward. So the proposed project at West High School is a little bit of expansion and renovation. This is precipitated by the fact that the current fitness spaces, weights, wrestling, cardio spaces are all in an inaccessible basement level in the West High School building. The stairways to get down there do not meet code. They're very steep, narrow step treads. The railings don't meet code, and the ventilation and lighting in those spaces is very undesirable and ineffective. The building itself has one single competition gym. There is a YMCA that's attached to the southern portion of this building, but because of the programs that are run within the YMCA building, those spaces are not accessible for use by the school during all hours of operation. A single competition gym also serves as a practice gym, which is for the student body of 1,400 to 1,500 students is not sufficient for a building of this size. So the proposed project, the building footprint shown in the white on the map above is the existing building. In the southwest corner of the building would be located a new practice gymnasium, wrestling room, and a weight fitness room, as well as some ancillary spaces. This footprint is shown taking some parking spaces. However, in working with building staff and district staff, we found that there's still adequate space on the site. In addition, by creatively placing the building, some green space, we can do this project without requiring the trigger of stormwater or water quality improvement for any runoff on the site. If you want to jump to the next slide. So just a quick overview from a civil engineering standpoint. The site plan has been designed and laid out to adequately allow for bus traffic to flow around the building. It will create a new training entrance for the building. It'll provide access for athletes to move easily from the weight fitness area out to the practice track or practice football field or soccer field that are south of this addition. Go ahead and jump forward. From a floor plan standpoint, the areas shown in blue are renovation spaces. The areas shown in red are addition spaces. What's shown in blue is a minor update to the existing competition gym. This is new bleachers, so folding bleachers in the space, and a rework of the divider curtain and a little bit of facelift, just some painting and miscellaneous improvement just to update. The bleachers will actually be able to increase the seating count in the space by changing the pitch and run and spacing of the seating. We'll be able to get, I believe the count today was 1,150 students in this gym for events. And then what's shown in blue to the south is we've worked out an agreement loosely with the YMCA. If we provide some amenities that allow the YMCA to use the space for needs that they currently have, then the school will be able to use one of the gymnasium spaces for school needs, which provides access to some practice needs, but not full-time, because the YMCA does still run programs that utilize this space. In red, we'll jump forward to the next slide as it enlarges that portion of the plan. So the plan that's on the screen is what was shown in red on the former screen. New gymnasium. This is a single court gym that's sized to allow competition play for the fact that there are regularly concurrent events occurring in the building. So a team could have a game in this gym as well as an ongoing game in the main competition gym. There's sufficient space that we can get 500 seats of bleachers in this area. I believe the current count is 509 for seating capacity. This would also allow 2 practice cross courts for daily use. The 2 practice cross courts are also including 2 practice volleyball courts, 1 competition volleyball court, and striping that allows for other PE uses such as pickleball or badminton. This has been worked out with PE staff. To the left side of the plan is a 3-mat wrestling space. This is a wrestling room that will have the pads on the floor, pads on the walls, space for wrestlers to take their shoes and prepare for their mats use. There's a storage area for mat storage. Competition mats will move from this room into this gym for wrestling meets. There are some larger openings that'll easily allow moving mats between the 2 spaces, not dinging up doors or damaging the space. And then the weight fitness room is to the south portion of the plan. This is based on equipment that the school currently has, as well as some projected needs of replaced equipment, but this is sized for what the school has and needs for regular operation. There are accessible restrooms available from the new gymnasium space, as well as the hallway space, but in the entryway of this building is a large group of restrooms that would be unisex accessible restrooms for any person to utilize when in the building. And then just inside the existing building, 1 existing space will be taken over and used as a team meeting space. So whether in the competition gym or this building, that space can be utilized for halftime team meetings. If you want to jump forward. Just the architectural plan showing dimensions. This is about 23,000 square feet worth of addition, if we want to jump forward. There is a small mechanical mezzanine, which is in the upper right-hand corner of this picture. This puts mechanical equipment under roof. Not all of it, but a majority of the mechanical equipment will be under roof. Having mechanical equipment protected in an enclosed space will extend the life of that equipment. We try to get as much of that in this as possible. By doing this in a mezzanine space, it helps us eliminate the need for a lot of mechanical rooms on the main floor plan, which keeps the footprint more efficient. If you want to jump forward. In the existing competition gym, this plan, as exciting as it looks, it is the existing gym with no changes to the floor that has been recently done, recently laid out. New bleachers will go in here, a new divider curtain. There is a mezzanine level that also has bleachers, and there is a batting cage up on that level that will be used for practice purposes. At the same time this project is happening, there is ESSER projects that are looking at changes to air handling systems and lighting systems in this space, which will work in concert with this project. However, we'll be able to update the paint on the walls, the ceiling, and provide some school identification in this space while we're at it. If you want to jump forward. And this is just that mezzanine level of that main competition gym. And then in the what is currently the double gym for the YMCA. This is a kind of a interesting question, is how do you put something in that doesn't damage what's there? We are going to try to protect the existing wood floor, attach a what we would call a non-permanent wall to separate one gym court from the other gym court that provides some barrier so that when school is in session, individuals utilizing the Y facility will not have access into the school side of the gymnasium. During non-school hours, those doors can open up and individuals participating in Y activities, community activities, can use both gyms. That divider wall could be removed at a future date if so desired by either party, the school district or the YMCA. There are some storage closets being added just to facilitate storage of YMCA needs for their day camp programs and their before after care programs. Otherwise, everything is relatively what we would call non-permanent in nature. The wall that is placed in this facility is not a full height, doesn't go all the way up to the ceiling. It goes up 12 or 14 feet. There are some sections that go all the way up for structural, but there will be netting above. The reason being is these two spaces still shared a single air handling system, and so we want to promote that good ventilation still works through the space, and we're not trying to increase the cost of what it takes to separate these by separating multiple air handling systems. Security will be provided so that any door that accesses the school use gym from YMCA space does receive automatic locking, so it can be scheduled in time so that it is a hard barrier for non-access during the school day. There is separate egress from this space so that students can safely egress this facility should an emergency occur. If you want to jump forward. So with that, just a quick view of what it would look like in the new gym. This is looking from the southeast to the northwest, trying to bring some clear story windows, not too many, but just a few up into the west side of this gym, just to provide some natural light, just to help reduce some of the electronic lighting load in this space. Some windows from the corridor and some overhead doors that can move out of the way just to help facilitate use of this space at the same time that matches are going on for wrestling, so that a free flow of space can occur between this gym and the wrestling room. That is a solution the coaches and the staff really liked for this building. A new view inside of the wrestling room. Some nice open windows that look out towards the practice fields to the south. This shows some of the equipment that's getting placed in here. It is open structure above, painted concrete block walls. There will be athletic flooring on here. There is a listing of equipment that will be placed in this space that has been worked out with district staff, and I believe Mr. Flynn has been a part of that as well. If we jump to the next, just a quick concept view of what we've been looking at. The bottom slide to the right side, there's a kind of a plain tan wall. That is the wall of the existing YMCA. This building projects out in that bottom slide with the red band above and the windows. That would be the weight fitness room. It was important to the staff to bring some of that Falcon red into this building. This kind of relates to a nice red band that's over the main entry of the front side of the building. And then in the upper left-hand corner of the slide, picture there shows the weight fitness to the right side and the new wrestling room on the left. There's a kind of a angular band of red and some darker gray and light tan. This is sort of a geometric representation of that falcon wing stretching out. This is all done in some metal products. The majority of the building will be either brick to match that YMCA addition or some metal cladding. Windows in the wrestling room are up high. They are to provide natural light, but be high enough, approximately 6 to 7 feet off the ground, so that they are out of the safe zone for throwing and lifts with wrestlers. If we jump to the next slide, this shows a view from the west parking lot. So off to the right side is the wrestling room. There's a entry into the to the building that's currently predominantly heavily used student access into the building. This would also be an entry that could be used during before and after school hours for students to get in for weightlifting, training, and practices. Part of the issue with this building is to the left side of this image, there is a group of doors that if you don't know where you're going, you're going to have trouble finding it, but that is the primary use entrance for all activities going into the gym of this building. So our team was looking to do some embellishment there just to help the wayfinding so that visitors and individuals going to events understand that that is the athletics activities entrance for the building. So just calling out a little bit of wayfinding there to help embellish. Also, what you'll see is a little bit of fencing, screening some of the storage areas for shop materials. There's fencing there that took a beating through the derecho, and it just has not been looking too great. So it was important for building staff to update that fencing and cover some of those items that get stored outside. And then just an up close view of those two with the words athletics and training, just to help designate where the individual who's entering the building might go. They'll understand that the training entrance is for training purposes and athletics is that events entrance. And then here, looking from those entries back out, you can just see kind of how it looks with a little bit of protective covering overhead so that when you're walking in and out of the building, there's just a little bit of protection from the elements before you're out in the parking lot. Those bollards, those little posts that you see straight out from the entry are meant to help just provide some safety separation for any buses, cars, picking individuals up that they're not driving on the sidewalk and threatening the safety of the building occupants. Little bit of new paving just for the sidewalks, but otherwise the parking lot is existing to remain. So I got through that really quick. Any questions?
Director Potts.
A couple of questions. One, how likely is it that this new gym is going to be used for competition as opposed to a teaching station?
Many times what you're seeing now is the varsity sophomore games. They'll also schedule junior varsity games, and they don't have a spot for that. So it's allowing more opportunities for students during the after school. During the day, it's very necessary. We're going to be.
So we're looking at teaching station day competitions.
Absolutely. It's all throughout the day.
So I don't know what's included in the 912 PE curriculum. But my question would be, is there sufficient storage space in this new gym to store the curricular equipment for 9 through 12 PE? Now, I don't know what is included in that, but I know in immediate schools, that means ping pong tables, that means badminton sets, that means volleyball nets, that means pads, that means basketballs, it means volleyballs, it means field hockey. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
So that's an interesting question because there's storage provided for the gymnasium, storage provided in the weight fitness area, and there's now storage accessible in what is currently the YMCA gym. So there'll be storage rooms for any of these multi-purposing spaces. In addition, all of the vacated spaces will be open and available for storage. Our recommendation would be to not use any of those existing spaces for regular curricular use, but those would be perfectly suitable for storage for the building needs.
Second question would be, I didn't, if you mentioned it, I didn't hear it, but are there shower facilities?
There are not shower facilities because this is positioned so that the showers are actually accessible adjacent to the competition gym, but also close to this gym. It did not make sense to incur a significant amount of cost to provide additional showering with locker rooms.
But there's accessibility to locker rooms and showers.
There is, correct.
Then second, my third question would be, is there a space available if it's going to be used for competition for concessions where somebody can make some money?
So there's a large lobby so that temporary concessions can be brought into this area. And then again, just down the hall is concessions window outside of the
There's
competition.
enough electrical to plug in the popcorn maker or the hot cheese pourer. You know, you got to have all of that stuff.
We'll be cautious about how many machines you bring down. But yes, we'll make sure that there's outlets for that.
So when there's a basketball tournament or something going, the main concession stand coming in through that main athletic entrance is right there, accessible to the competition gym, and then heading down towards the secondary competition.
Another question I have would be, this is more in line with the wrestling side. I'm assuming there's a custodial closet or something where they can access water and the disinfectant they'll need for the mats, and that's pretty handy to the wrestling area.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are happening. Custodial spaces, there's one at each end of this addition, as well as network area, just to provide for the electronic expansion throughout the building. We needed some space for IT as well.
Okay. My last question would be, you mentioned the large bathroom in the entrance is anybody use bathroom. What does that look like? I don't know what that, I mean, how do you have I got a concept. You got a bathroom, you got a left-legged man, you're going to have, I've been to Iowa City, I've been to Kinnick, you know. There's a lot of people going to the bathroom.
So
is it all stalls?
Instead of what you see in a current bathroom with stalls that float above the ground and are down from the ceiling, these are individual compartments with regular sized doors. It is a private use space that is separated, so nobody's peeking underneath of anything or over top of anything. It is a separate compartment. The outer area is open with a large vanity countertop with sinks and mirrors and hand drying, and changing space is available. So for individuals with young children, there's some changing table space, as well as there is a family bathroom as part of that group, so that if anybody is needing something, whether it's special assistance, they have somebody to assist them in the bathroom, or a parent with a couple of children, there is a single-use family bathroom as part of that grouping for a different option as well. Also, just across the hall from this addition is a area that we're taking over to make a full-size multi-function bathroom. So it is a bathroom that's both accessible in nature for family purposes, but has a shower, so it becomes a space for officials to use. So now we have an officials changing space right here. There just isn't a good solution in this building for that. And then right off of this competition gym, there are 2 single stall restrooms that are available. The YMCA gym also has 2 single stall private bathrooms available. So I think bathrooms are well covered in this.
Piggyback on that, for the officials, is there going to be like an outside water shut off that if they didn't do that great of a job, we can turn it off? And you don't have to answer.
I can't speak to the nature of how you want to treat your officials.
Director Klein-Jerome.
Okay, so we're putting in a wall that's separating the current Y. Are we taking some of the Y space that's on our side of the wall then? Or is it like that's where we're starting new, so that wall separates?
So the Y is a 2 gym facility, and essentially it's just separating that so that it's like 2 separate rooms now. The Y, predominantly the use of that gym is 1 court size in necessity. The second court is what's needed after school hours are long done, when there's pickup basketball games and things like that. So we are taking over some space that is currently Y use. The school gets to use it sometimes, but not regularly. And we're trying to formalize a more regular use space that is the school's in nature, and then the Y gets access to after school hours. Does that answer that question?
Yes, and then you said something about we are doing some improvements to the Y side. When we originally talked about this, I thought this was all West High, 100%. You know, this is for West High because they didn't get the use of the Y. Why are we putting anything on the Y side?
Two small storage closets to allow them to vacate those storage spaces that would not be accessible for them. So it's just two small storage closets. And that was a concession that made sense because we're barring access to what would otherwise be space they would need to store things. And they felt that that was adequate.
Okay.
Director Hayes.
John, on slide number 6, you had the blue areas for just the cosmetic work. There was 2 little small blue areas there. What are those for?
Okay, so in the upper left, and we don't know if this is exactly where it happens, all new additions to school buildings, this is one that is really, really difficult to get around in any way, but new additions to schools and significant remodelings to schools require integration of sprinkler systems. So the new addition to this building will have a sprinkler system. The existing building will remain unsprinklered. However, we need to have a spot to be able to bring water service in and then get it to move down into the tunnel system to get to the basement. We're going to need a small water service entrance closet. It likely will be 6 or 7 feet by 6 or 7 feet in size. We are still in the process of finding a small corner of a room that we can take over. We are hoping that it's somewhere in that northwest corner of the building up near the auditorium. Down a little further, closer to where you see the red box, there is currently a small room that is going to be divvied up. A portion of it will become electrical service. So as part of the overall improvements to this building, both necessitated by addition and ESSER, there will need to be a new electric service brought in. So we're creating a small electric service room. And then the remainder of the space is actually team meeting space. There will be some meeting tables and a whiteboard and any technology that the school puts in there. But in a break between halves of a game or in a break between games in a tournament, there's a spot for a team to go and have a team breakdown and chat. And that is recovered space that's currently within the building.
Director Poston.
On the competition gym, you talked about the divider. The divider that's there, that's going to be tore out and replaced, correct? Okay, because that's an eyesore. Everything that's going to be done in the competition gym, is that going to be done and ready to go by this fall?
So the big contingent factor is going to be how long it takes to get the bleachers. We are hoping that the lead time on bleachers allows that to be ready to go. Part of the impetus of tearing out that curtain is, if you're familiar with that space, there's 2 independent sets of bleachers and that curtain drops down in between them. We're going to shorten that curtain so that it falls just inside the bleachers so that you have a continuous set of bleachers that's not interrupted. That's part of how we can improve the seating capacity in there. Right now, I believe they're talking about a 3-month window for ordering bleachers. One of the very first things that's going to happen on this project is you're going to order bleachers and hope that those can get pulled out and replaced before there's a heavy need for them.
So there is a chance.
Oh, absolutely, there is a chance.
Okay. And then just a follow-up to Karen's question. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the arrangement with the YMCA. So you're putting up a temporary wall, so we have access to that space, but is that during the entire school day and after school hours? Or, because I mean, is that going to be available for practicing teams after school?
Correct. That is the discussion that was had, this has not been formalized into any type of lease amendment yet. That is something that district administration will have to formalize. But in cursory conversations with the Y leadership, that is what was discussed, and they felt that that was agreeable, provided that they had access after the school was done with their practices.
Okay, I just want to make sure that the school has access. Otherwise, we're not gaining a whole lot if we don't have that gym also.
Correct, and so there are in the Y gym, there's a pair of doors at one end of the wall and a door at the south end of the wall. Those will have automatic locks. Those will stay locked until the school's done with it.
Director Beck.
Is this going to require, I think I heard you maybe mention it, refurbishing the outside of the entire school so that we don't have, beautiful new corner and everything else is kind of a little dingier?
So,
or is it just going to need a wash?
We really, with constraints on trying to keep a good, efficient budget, we're not attacking the rest of the building, unfortunately.
I think what you're referring to is the space that's outside of our tech ed spaces, where we have some stuff parked outside of the building and it just needs a little updating. That fencing in that area, that's what we were talking about, updating the outside of the building.
Yeah, the fencing will be a nice, obscure, hopefully prettier than chain link fence.
Thank you. To clarify, we are going from the current competition gym and sharing 2 gyms with the YMCA to our current competition gym and having all of the rights to 2 gyms. So we're really increasing this space by 2 gyms that we have sole control over. The 3rd gym that's down there is the YMCA's for running programming, and this matches what our other high schools have. It's kind of, I think Central's has an addition there. This will greatly enhance the during the day and after the school programming.
That's correct, and it is not uncommon for a 1,400 to 1,500 student school to have access to 3 to 4 gyms, and that is due to the number of programs run through the course of a day for curricular purposes, as well as the multitude of programs that run in the after hours.
Any other questions? My question would be, so up in that far corner you're saying for the sprinkler system, why couldn't that be down in the basement where the wrestling room was, and then we're not taking any space away?
It is a code constraint that the emergency shutoff has to be accessible through a doorway. So you have to be able, fire department has to be able to come in and spin that off, is what we're being told.
Run it up through the wall and put a glass thing in. I think I think it's going to be way bigger than 6 by 6.
Yeah, they can pack them in tight. It's a lot to put in there. So
in my mind, I'm trying to picture a 6 by 6. So, and I don't believe you're asking anything from us on this one. You're just giving us an update.
No, there is no decision to be made. This is just eye candy.
Okay. I like how you fit like the Falcon stuff in there. You can see it in the design. So
I would say John and Josh have been working very hard with the building staff to change all of these plans to meet the specific needs, like Director Potts was talking about, all of the ability for each one of those departments to say, we need storage, we need this. They're doing a nice job incorporating that. I'm invited to the meetings. I see them come through and they're actually holding.
And maybe just to follow up, we've actually had staff ask us should they be in the meeting, and we've encouraged that staff join these meetings and be participants, and even as it relates to size and shape of windows. And some of them say, we've never been able to have an opinion on this before. And it's just part of a communicative process so that the building feels that they own what they're getting here.
And then the only other question I have, will the proposed bathroom have the halo system in it?
We can take note of that.
We
can take note of that.
We haven't talked about that particular item yet.
You guys don't go to basketball games or football games? That's where they get together and do their thing in the bathrooms.
Okay.
What's going into that dungy weight room down in the basement? Nothing? Nothing. Okay. I mean, it smells down there. It has smelled down there for a long, long time.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the update, and thank everybody for the work on that.
Thank you.
Our new folding chairs.
Yeah, that's where they're going to store them, right? All right. The next subject for discussion is 12.05, Specialized Education Services, Inc., and a special education update.
Thank you. Courtney Olson and Aaron Rome are going to present to us a short catch up of where we are with SESI. We have been doing quite a bit of research on this program and in reviewing our behavior continuum. So I'll turn it over to Courtney and Aaron.
Hang on one second. Director Klein Jerome, SESI stands for Specialized Education Services. Well, you made the comment about acronyms and he just did it, so the floor is yours.
Our presentation.
Yeah. Good evening, Board of Directors. I want to formally introduce you to Aaron Rome, our Program Director for Special Education. So we are here tonight to talk with you about what we want to propose as a partnership with Specialized Education Services, Inc., which we will move forward with calling SESI. Thanks, Brenda. Ooh. All right. So, as you all are well aware, we've definitely seen a rise post-COVID in the intensity of the needs of our students in regard to social, emotional, and behavior. With this rise in intensity, this has definitely exposed some gaps in our continuum of supports and services for students with IEPs. So with that, we have explored how we can better meet the needs of our students. So this initial exploration actually started occurring last school year, and the information was passed on to myself and Aaron when we came on board in the summer. We took that information and wanted to do our due diligence in researching this company, what they offered. We wanted to make sure that as being new people coming on, that we truly understood the need of our students and what we were missing in our continuum of supports and services. So we progressed that exploration this school year. We've taken many site visits to SESI programs. They have a day school in Moline that we visited. They had some sites in the Chicagoland area that we visited because we wanted to see the programming firsthand and talk to people who have partnered with the company to provide services. We also met with Winterset School District because that name was given to us by Kim Hoffman, but through Barb Guy at the Department of Ed, as they're a school district who partnered with an outside entity to provide services for their students in district. So we wanted to meet with them to find out what was their experience, lessons learned, what we should know going into something like this. We've also been in constant conversation with Kim Hoffman at the AEA to help guide and advise as we go on this journey. And through Kim, and I've also recently reached out to Barb Guy, who's the Director of Special Education at the Department of Ed, because we just want to make sure that we have all the information we need in making this decision. We've had many conversations and meetings with SESI. We're actually meeting weekly at this point. And just last week, we kind of unveiled with principals, special ed department, that we want to move forward with this proposal. And we've been in close communication with our finance department as we've been making sure that we can achieve this. All right, so I'm going to pass it on to Aaron to tell you more about SESI.
Yeah, so as we kind of mentioned what SESI is, I'm going to give a little bit more context as to the entity itself. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, Courtney, thank you. So SESI is part of a larger company called Full Bloom. SESI is their wing of like specialized alternative programming. So they range from programming where they operate standalone schools like what High Roads of the Quad Cities is in Moline, Illinois. And they also do in-district classrooms, which we'll speak more to in just a minute. And really, they serve a lot of kids who have maybe high intense needs. And we'll speak more about some of the kids that we have in mind that we think could be best serviced through this programming. So SESI, when it comes to alternative program, they are a national entity. A lot of their programming is based in some more densely populated metropolitan areas, ranging from the Los Angeles area to the Northeast metropolitan area, to the Chicagoland area, which Courtney mentioned that we had a chance to visit a couple of their programs there. But also they have the program in Moline, Illinois, which we've had kids within Davenport schools attending there as well too. So we are familiar with the program over there and some of the services that are provided at that school, and have had opportunities to speak with their leadership over there to learn more about their classrooms. So just by the numbers there are just some of the ways in which they serve. They've been in operation for 45 plus years nationwide, as you see there. 42 states in which they have programs or partnerships with, and the number of districts that they have engaged with over that 45-year business span, and a number of students as well too. So what we wanted to speak a little bit more about was the in-district classroom support. So you might have a question about what that is, where that might fit like within our continuum. As Courtney was mentioning, it just kind of the needs that have risen within the district, particularly in the last few years, has compelled us to think about different ways in which we could serve students within our schools. So as you see there, it can range from being less restrictive, where it's serving kids with maybe just strictly accommodations, maybe looking at more intensive support within a special education setting, ranging from even therapeutic day school settings, which is kind of like what High Roads of the Quad Cities is, to more residential placements. Where we see that a benefit with like an in-district classroom is it's providing a lot of things that you might find within a therapeutic day school setting, but in the classroom format, not in a separate altogether school setting in that regard. So we see that it's having a nice blend of still providing intensive supports, but still being within that district, within that classroom setting that's considered a Davenport school. So that's a little bit of what that continuum would look like.
So what we are here tonight to propose to give you more information about is that we would like to partner with SESI to operate 2 classrooms within our district. They would specifically be operating their model that they refer to as the academic model, which means that it's targeted for students who have intense social, emotional, behavioral needs. So that's their primary area of need. And that's where we really see the hole in our continuum when we look at our current level of behavior programming. And then as we're looking at, we're struggling with programming for kids, and then we're looking at day schools. We really feel like we're missing something in between to really serve our own kids here in district. So we would like to propose 2 classrooms that would be 20 seats for students, and we're going to target 4th grade through 9th grade, as we're seeing that that's our greatest need when we review our data. Within this programming, this is the staffing that SESI provides. They provide 2 special education teachers, 4 instructional aides, 1 behavior specialist, 1 master's level social worker, and then they have a program director who oversees it. And again, the students we're targeting are students with behavioral needs, intense behavioral needs. Location is still to be determined when we look at operating these classrooms. We're just weighing all of the pros and cons as we look at available space across the district. But we're looking at about $330,000 to operate these 2 classrooms for 4th quarter. I also want to add, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's go to next steps. So next steps is on January 23rd, we do plan to bring before you a finalized contract for your vote for approval. Some next steps that Aaron and I see is we'll be working hard on developing some entry and exit criteria. We want to make sure that we as a district are identifying the right students for this type of programming, and we want to support our IEP teams in doing so. So with that, we'll identify professional learning that our staff and teachers need around what is SESI, what is this program, those entry and exit criteria.
and so forth. And lastly, you know, we are not the only ones seeing this need. We have surrounding districts who are seeing this need as well, and they have interest in something like this as well. So we have been in conversation with them to see how we can work together to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students. So that's ever evolving, but wanted to add that to the conversation tonight. So we'll stop there and answer any questions that you have.
Karen Gordon, or Director Gordon, I'm sorry.
Can you talk a little bit about how these two classrooms are going to look? Because you said 4th through 9th grade. So how does that look? What is this in a current building, or is this going to be separate from our current buildings? Are they all going to be grouped together? Are they separated out by age? Like, how does that work?
So we envision that the two classrooms, one will be 4-6, the other would be 7-9. So we do see that divide. We will want both classrooms in the same location because, again, we'll want to make sure that they have efficient access to all those resources that CESI provides and that their director can be in constant supervision of the program. And right now we are evaluating any available space within our district and trying to finalize that decision to make sure what makes the most sense and what they need in space, as well as acknowledging just the reality in buildings.
Director Klein-Jerome.
Do students go in and out of the program? Like, let's say we were starting this in the fall. After one quarter, could they kind of graduate out and go back and then come back in? Or is it once you're in there for a semester or a year? How does that work?
Absolutely. This is fluid for the student's needs. So a student there's no specific amount of time they have to serve in this program. It's not about them earning their way out. It's about providing them the supports and services they need to gradually release them back into their gen ed population. And that's what's exciting about having this in-house is we can more readily do that and we can be more creative and flexible in how we're offering this service to students.
And who hires the staff that you're talking about, the 2 special ed teachers, instructional aides, and so on?
CESI hires them. They're CESI employees.
So they would not be getting the benefits that Davenport teachers get, or they wouldn't be getting IPERS, or?
Correct. They wouldn't be working for public education. They'd be working for a private entity.
All of the people that were on that list.
Correct.
Okay.
Director Beck.
Sorry, 2 questions. You said $330,000. What was that's per what? I missed per year.
That's the price to run the programming for the 4th quarter,
Just for
taking into account that includes the startup cost that goes into opening this program in our district.
Okay, and then how much is it going to cost per year after that?
They right now, and nothing's finalized, but they are quoting us, if we were to operate these 2 classrooms throughout next school year, they're quoting us about $800,000.
Okay, and so how is it, I guess, I'm trying to think of, how are we saving money? Or not that we're saving, I don't want to save money because I know we have to support these kids and I want to support these kids and I would pay personally any amount, to do that. But we also have to be realistic. Can we afford this?
Right.
And so where does the money come from? And are we going to be shifting resources away from students in other classrooms to pay for this? Whereas if we don't have a third party doing this, we can spread that money out a little bit. So I guess that's my main question.
Yeah. So it won't be shifting resources. These are students that we have to and want to provide services to meet FAPE and that we're struggling with right now. Something that really put it in context for me is when you look at
Again, the fourth quarter is kind of wonky, but if you look at going forward for next year, it's about $39,000 a student. And when we think about what we pay for those students currently when we program them for in district, a lot of them have one-on-one aides, right? So we're trying to, and that's around, I don't want to quote, but like $35,000 right there. We also have a lot of students. One of the data points that we reviewed in making this decision is we have quite a few students on home instruction because we're struggling with how to provide FAPE for them, right? So as a leadership team, we felt comfortable with this price level, and our special ed budget can handle it.
And it's 100% special ed budget then?
Um,
Well, maybe not the physical classroom.
We're working with Ceci right now around instructional costs versus admin cost, and even talking with Kevin. There could be some ESSER potential with the startup fees and stuff. So that's what we're investigating right now.
Okay.
I got Director Hayes and then I got you.
Hey, Courtney, I have a couple of questions for you. Just for clarity, basically this entire program is like a contracted program?
Correct.
Okay. And secondly, you said 20 rooms, or 20 seats.
Students.
So it's each room versus a total of 20.
Each room has 10 students. So
Okay,
that's where I'm
so
getting
it's
20. So 2 classrooms with 10 students in each.
Okay, so 20 total.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have anything else, Director Hayes?
No, that's it.
Director Posh.
Will the school district be criticized for pulling all these students to one building? Because we did have this before. It was Truman School. Is that going to be a concern?
You know, I think it's really important for us to always look to the past and, learn from the lessons. And I think we're really taking that seriously. So I think it's something that we have to keep in mind, but ultimately we're confident in that this will meet the needs of our students.
Also, too, like what Courtney mentioned of partnering with Ceci on that entry and exit criteria too, so that we're relying on some of their experience too on having strong criteria to say who's a student that would really benefit from this kind of programming, and the just-in-time release of going back into what Courtney mentioned, more of the traditional setting that they may have been in before.
Director Potts.
Talk to me a little bit about what the relationship then is between the administration in the building and this school within a school that's not part of the school, that has people working that are not employees of the district, that I then assume are not responsible to me as the principal, but there are going to be interactions where those children may be coming to a game after school. They may be coming to a social event after school. How does that work?
Well, relationships will be critical. Mine and Aaron's relationship to this program director, and then they have other positions above that program director that we'll have close relationships with. Our goal is also that it's not that we send these kids to Ceci and there's no contact. We really see that IEP team, which includes that building leader, is very heavily involved in those decisions for what supports and services they need, regularly scheduled check-ins on how that student's doing. We're always going to be looking at how can we build that student's day back up in a less restrictive setting. So I envision there to be strong relationships there, so that won't be an issue. And then if you were kind of alluding to if it was operating in a building where they're managing another building, it would be completely separate. And I would just say, even though location is not finalized, we are looking at all space available in the district to make that decision.
Director Beck, then Klein Jerome, and then Director Post.
To be honest, this makes me really nervous given our history. when I joined the board. Are there data from these other schools and districts that show success? I know not every child will necessarily graduate out of a classroom, school within a school, but have they shown success? Have they had issues? Have parents complain? I mean, what other data do we have to support that this is the right program for us?
I would say, as I mentioned earlier, that we do have a couple of students that attend at a neighboring therapeutic day school program, and that when I get reports from their program director, they find great success with them. And so that's hopeful that it's a quality fit for that individual student, and hopefully it leads to opportunities where they will then gradually transition back to a more traditional setting in that way. So we've had personally students that have attended programming like this and have found great results with that.
Okay. And so you said that they are heavily involved with the IEP team as well, because that is really important, that whatever classroom they're in is sticking to that student's IEP. Okay.
Director Kleindrew.
So do you use any of Davenport's curriculum? Like, would they be an English class and a social studies class that would be taught in the district in there?
We partner with them on that. They're open. We want this transition to be as smooth for the student as possible because they are a Davenport student and we ultimately want them back in our classrooms. And so they are open to utilizing any of our core curriculum, and that's what we'll work with them on. Is we want that to be the same for the student when they're in those classrooms.
Okay. And if you were starting this classroom next week, have you already potentially identified 20 kids? Or have you talked to other districts who have 2 or 3 or 4 they're ready to send to?
We have had conversations with the districts to try to understand their need in this level of programming. And so they've been sharing that with us. And Aaron and I have been reviewing different data points, again, to help shape how many classrooms to start out with. And that's where we landed on. We were comfortable with 2 classrooms with a total of 20 students.
Just our kids.
Superintendent Schneckler.
Oh.
Just our kids? Are those 20 you're saying we're comfortable
Turn your mic.
20 just from our district?
We don't necessarily have names to seats yet, right? Because those are going to be IEP team decisions on around if these supports and services are what the student needs. But from our data review around kids on home instruction, kids that Aaron's constantly consulting with IEPs on, we are comfortable moving forward with 20 seats.
But that could also include outside districts.
Potentially,
putting in that 20.
Yeah.
Superintendent Schneckler.
So we personally went over to a school right across the river, High Roads.
High Roads.
Every one of the cabinet members went and toured, and we toured on their last day of school. They have every layer that you could imagine inside this school. We are particularly interested in this layer that we're moving forward with. And I guarantee you it's what you get emailed about the most, our most intensive students with the most intensive needs. That's what we went over to see. Because the proud part is that we can service almost every child's need in this district. It's quite amazing. There is a band that we need, and that's why we're moving forward with this as fast as we can, because as a matter of fact, I met with a single dad today who just doesn't know what to do with his child, and this would be a wonderful program for his son if that's what the IEP team would decide. And so we know that this is a need that we have in our district. We have vetted this company. It comes recommended by actually, the reason why we investigated him in the first part was because of Kim Hoffman suggested it and Susan Downs suggested it, and we have seen success, and we've toured the facilities. I believe we've had several tours set up, and there are other schools. They're in the Chicagoland area. Have we visited those schools?
Yes, myself, Aaron Rome, and Kim Hoffman toured those.
So we've gone in and watched them in action, and I will tell you, on the last day of school in a day school, is that I was impressed. And we have former employees that are there working in that setting, and so to your point, the vetting of that is we before we bring somebody in. Also, we're not the only ones that are experiencing this level of need, and to be a leader in our area to bring an organization that can assist with that. I think is another positive for us. This is a level of service that we don't have and we drastically need. And to Courtney's point, she has looked at every available space in this district, and she just refuses to put these kiddos in a place that's not worthy of them. And so we're either going to spend some money to clean them up and doll them up and make sure they're nice, or find a space. She's even looked in the, I shouldn't say that. So.
TJ did say something that I forgot to mention, and I'm super proud of, is that we as an entire district leadership have really invested in making sure this was the right decision. You had said something, Director Beck. We all had a lot of pause moving into this because we don't want to make mistakes of the past. We want to make sure we're doing what's best for kids, and our whole cabinet and Aaron alongside us has been super committed to that. ILDs went on building tours with us. They've been looking at space with me. I've just felt very supported, and it's exciting that we're all in this together. Any other questions?
Director Poston.
So what you're saying is you don't feel that we have the staff in our district to handle these students, that we need to go outside for expertise. You don't think we have the staff to handle this?
I think we don't know what we don't know, and we haven't figured it out yet. And so we're looking to some experts to come into district to provide some programming for us and that we can ultimately learn from. So yeah, I think this is a need for us right now.
Okay, well, for me personally, I think I have more faith in the staff that we have. And I think, you know, if it takes more training, I mean, what is this company doing that's, you know, better than what we're doing? Is it because they train their people differently? You know, what is the difference? And when you're talking about $330,000 for one quarter for 20 students, and don't get me wrong, we need to spend the money and help these kids. There's no question about that. But I'm just concerned is why we need to go to an outside source. Why don't we train our own staff if you feel they're not trained well enough for these students?
I think that's a good consideration. I believe there isn't anybody in this room that doesn't believe in our staff. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that we're talking about that undiagnosed bipolar students. We're talking about clinically undiagnosed students that are working through something that changes every single day. To have somebody that's what they specialize in, that's what their expertise is, a clinical school psychologist right on spot. What we saw was a level of care and support in a place and a program that can support students that are that severe. And that's why when you think about students with a district with 14,000 students in it, we're talking about 14 kids. For Davenport's 15 kids, maybe 20. That's the level of intensity that we're talking about. And so I don't want to undersell our staff or make this seem like our staff are not working hard or doing their job or undertrained. They're incredible. I don't ever want to give that impression. This is a level of need that takes a true specialization. And so that's what SESI can bring, and they specialize in this. And so I want to clarify that.
Director Beck.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with Director Poston. You know, I'd rather see us invest in a specialist in our district, you know, a district employee, well, multiple district employees, rather than bring in a private entity. Privatization and outsourcing, not my favorite. I understand that we can't fill that need right now. And so this makes sense, right, you know, because they're ready, they've got the people. And as we know, finding a specialist like that costs a lot of money. There aren't a lot of people that can do that kind of thing. But I guess I would encourage us to, as you said, learn from this, because I don't see the need decreasing. And if it takes a clinical social worker and a school-based therapist who's right there to help these kids, imagine what having more school-based therapists or more clinical social workers in our schools could do for kids with less severe issues. And so I would hate to see us kind of just leave that on the table, let some private entity do that, when it's probably something that would benefit everybody in the district.
So to piggyback on that, this would be very similar to us doing what a private hospital would do. And no one would ever push us to take on a wing of a private hospital. And so while this is not the same as that, there is specialization in that as well. We are not recommending that we take resources away. We're not recommending that we take our social workers and counselors and they're going to go over here. This is in addition to, this is a need that is being presented right now that we are not filling. And so the other component is if right now we can't build our own program. I'm just going to say it. And everybody in here knows why we're probably not going to be allowed to build our own program. So the board charged us with coming forward with a continuum, and that's exactly what we're doing. And this is just a piece of it. Now, that shows that we're not the only ones that need this. And the entrance and exit criteria are going to be critical. Because I will tell you, there were parts of Keystone that were wonderful. That was working for some students. Now we're going to move forward building a continuum that's extremely strong, and this is very incredibly necessary. If 4 months outside of our reaccreditation, we said we were going to start our own school with our own stuff and our own learning, that wouldn't go. We would be met with extreme resistance. So what do? We found a national partner to help to partner with, to learn from, and to grow from, and to build around. And so I believe that this is the next step. It is incredibly expensive. It is that, but I see it as an investment in our children, not an expense. It's not and the dollars can be generated. We all know how our special ed dollars can be generated. And right now I would say that this is a part of our continuum that we're missing. If you go in each one of our buildings, our teachers and our people are trying their absolute bests to do what they deem necessary. And I think we will learn from this partnership. So I would think that that's another mindset that we have as we're moving forward and that we're operating from. And those are all very valid concerns. We don't want to take things outside, but we see this as a company that we can really partner from and learn from. And we've had many interactions. Courtney and her team meets regularly with them. And so this level of care is very difficult for a school to provide. We're talking about students that even our experts, our internal people say, wow, we're having troubles with this kiddo. So those are just some other key considerations as we move forward.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I have no problem, approving this right now. I mean, we definitely need it. They can fill a need. It sounds like you guys have done a lot of research and vetting, which I appreciate, by the way. I guess I just want to know that we're going to reevaluate in some period of time, and that we're not just setting up something that's going to go in perpetuity, that we're actually really doing this because this is a need we need to meet right now. And in 3 years, you know, maybe we have fewer students with these needs, or maybe we have more. You know, and I understand we're talking about a very small number of students who need really intense help, and that's fine. I just, yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And I do have one logistical question. So these are not Davenport employees. What about a substitute? Like if somebody's sick, who substitutes?
Ceci would have to figure that out.
Okay.
Director Poston.
So for your proposal, you're asking for just this fourth quarter. That's what will be voted on, correct? Just the fourth quarter. So if this is approved and down the road, when would you have to notify Ceci that you wanted to continue the program in the fall?
I'm trying to recall off the top of my head if it was, do you recall? Yeah, I don't want to misspeak. In the contract, there is so many days that you have to let them know on both sides if you're going to discontinue. The current contract does have the price for fourth quarter and what it would cost to continue these two classrooms into next school year. But we've had conversations with Ceci that we will want to renegotiate, and this will be captured in the contract, because what if we want to add an additional one or add some type of other programming, you know, so we want to make sure that we can have that conversation at the end of fourth quarter looking at next school year.
So would that be on a quarter by quarter basis, or do you not know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I believe it'd be on an annual basis that we'd review that.
Okay.
They explained it to us when it's like a typical full school year, that come January is when we'd sit down and start talking about how we're moving forward next year.
So will you have enough time to evaluate this program in just one quarter, this coming fourth quarter, to make a decision for the upcoming year?
I believe we'll put data routines in place to do so. It is a quick turnaround, and I've had pause about, do we just wait till next school year? But the need is so high, we just can't wait anymore. And I feel confident in the information that we collected that this is the right thing for our students right now.
Director Beck.
I know some students get year-round or extended school year instruction as part of their IEPs. If these students fall into that category, does Ceci do that as well?
Ceci does provide it. That's an additional cost.
Okay.
All right, I think everybody's went. I look at this as an investment in our kiddos to provide them the services they need. And again, I want to reiterate, I think we have some of the best staff in education. But at the same time, I think everybody forgets we literally just voted to close 3 schools. We just did proposed boundary changes. So we're already dumping a bunch of stuff on staff, and we're asking you to do it again. Well, we have people that can do this. I think sometimes we forget about that. We're already asking so much of all staff. They're going to be transferring buildings, a transfer plan and all that. And then we would ask you to do even more. So I would ask my colleagues to keep that stuff in mind as they're doing, because I think we do something, then we forget about it, and it's in the back of our mind. It is a huge investment, but we do have some kiddos that really do need that. And if this is the company that can provide that, that would be a tremendous thing for this district after some of the things we've been through with the turnaround and everything like that. I don't even know how you found the time to even go and tour all this stuff with everything else we got going on, because, again, this is a moving ship that's moving 100 different ways and doing other things. So I thank you all for putting together the presentation for touring the different facilities, and it is nice to know that we do have a location literally right across the river to go check out or something like that to see how things are going. I would be interested of an insight from maybe someone from that district to see how it's done. Not saying that you all aren't doing that, but to, you know, come and talk to us about, you know, the things that they're seeing, because, you know, they're living it right there in the moment and things like that. And just to see the turnaround in the kiddos and the things like that, it would help with the data and things like that as well. All right. Again, thank you very, very much. I'm sorry that we just keep asking more and more. I apologize to everybody. We just keep asking more and more and more and more. And we get asked a ton and we don't even get compensated. So again, thank you all. All right, we will move on to subject 12.06, board policies for second discussion. Does anyone have anything on that? All right, seeing none, this will be on the next regular board meeting to take action on voting on. Administrative reports, none at this time. Board requests. We have 2 board requests. Are there any other board requests? First board request is from Director Potts. Date of request 1/9/23. Item requested is a request for information, a discussion at a cow. Description of request: explore a policy that would review boundaries on a regular basis to make changes. Why are you making this request? Long-range planning, more stability. When would you like this? Sometime in 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
I think she got you. Seconded by Director Beck. Second board request from Director Beck. Data request, January 9th, 2023. Item requested, a request for information. Description of request: I would like the board to get regular updates on the transition activities and possibly be invited to some. Why are you making this request? The board is ultimately responsible for holding the district accountable. It is important for us to know what and how the transitions are going. When would you like this, as they are known, and then weekly or access to a calendar spreadsheet? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Gordon. Any other board requests? Board reflections, we'll start with Director Gordon.
I was really impressed with the West High Athletic Facility update. It was neat to see the plans laid out with the blueprints and kind of what's going to go where, and he was very good at getting all the questions answered, so I really appreciated that. And the SESI presentation as well was well researched and thought out, and while I do agree with some of Director Poston and Director Beck's concerns about it not being our own employees, I think that for the time being it's necessary, so I thought that was good.
Thank you, Director Potts.
I'd say we've completed phase 1 of the actions we have to take as a board on our long-range facilities plan. The completion of those 2 things are now up to our staff, and we need to be aware that they've got a lot of work to do. In particular, the transferring of kids from one building to another is a huge challenge, and we really need to work hard to make sure parents in our buildings that are affected know that they're affected.
Thank you, Director Klein-Jerome.
And I agree with Director Potts, and it may take a paper notice going home. Don't expect that they're all looking on the district's website. They need something sent home. It used to be Thursday folders they can look at in their hand. And it's great. It's going to be posted in the building, but they're not all walking in the building either. So that is also a concern, that they are well informed about what their options are and requesting to stay or however it goes. I appreciate that we are looking at SESI. There is a huge need for a, yes, very small population. If you have put a student on home instruction because they can't handle being in a building with their kind of behaviors, we definitely need to get them back in front of somebody. And if this will work, I support it.
Thank you, Director Beck.
Yeah, so I second what Director Klein-Jerome said. I actually think I wrote in an email, a piece of paper needs to go home with every single child in the elementary schools to make sure that everybody knows that if their school boundaries are changing and what their options are. But I also, I guess my two big celebrations are the fact that we have sort of moved forward through this process and completed, we've seen something begin and we've reached the end of the first step. And this board, since I've been on the board, that wasn't always the case. We would start something and not finish it. And so it's really nice to see, we said we were going to do this, we collected the information, we made some decisions, and then we went to the next step. The other thing I appreciate is the SESI presentation and the amount of research that you guys did, touring facilities and looking at other districts, all the things that we've asked in the past. You did that, and really vetting this group to make sure that it is the right fit for us. And I appreciate that. I still would love to see our district be able to provide those kinds of services, but I understand, we can't, especially right now. And so I think I applaud you guys for going out and finding what we can do to help those students.
Thank you, Director Poston.
I appreciate the fall sports recognition. I have my hats off to these kids that put in the time and effort. I only wish that we have more students in the district that are participating in extracurricular activities. I think it's critical to the rest of their education, and it just seems like we're having less and less students participating in extracurricular activities. But again, these students that do participate, they're going to be way ahead of the game, and it'll just aid them down the road.
Thank you, Director Hayes.
I enjoyed the SESI presentation, and depending on how it goes at some point, I would like to see like a SESI room in every school, where it's needed, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I also enjoyed the fall presentation, and especially the swimmers on how well they did, and just kind of literally blew it out the water with their records on what was going on. And, I would like to see that from some of the other schools as well.
Thank you. Superintendent Schneckloff.
The big thing that stuck out to me is you saw an example of the direction that we're going. And every day, what excites us and gets us up to come to work is you look at this board decided to build a state-of-the-art pool. There's longevity in the human being running the program at some of those places, and they're state champions. Facilities, human beings that are in a stable environment that aren't going anywhere, like our marching, the things of that nature. The more stable environment that we can create with high quality facilities, that's what will happen, and that's the direction that we're going. These really difficult decisions that you're making are going to help us become more stable, have better facilities, and that is a very exciting outcome. I think shortly after that team moved into that pool, they broke all the records in the school. It was shortly after that. Yeah, the additional turns. I just think about the impact that we can have by continuing to focus on our facilities and our programming and ensuring that there's stability for our staff members. That was just so exciting to me.
Thank you. I guess one of my biggest takeaways, and it's usually all the board meetings, I really appreciate the student board members' input. I think they bring a lot. I really love the fact that they're talking about and promoting their feeder schools. So it shows they're totally invested within their region. And as well as, I appreciate all of you. We've had to make some really difficult decisions, but hopefully the outcomes are better investments to provide more opportunities and things like that for our students. So with that, let me flip the paper. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, meeting adjourned.